Hi, this is Kiki DeVille. I wanted to talk to you today about grief, and the reason that I want to talk to you about it is because this week, the 9th to the 15th of October, is Baby Loss Awareness Week, and specifically the 15th is Baby Loss Awareness Day. And I wanted to talk to you about it because I think there's some things that we need to start talking about when it comes to baby loss, particularly miscarriage, stillbirth, neonatal death, that we don't talk about because really we don't want to talk about the death of a child. And coming up to the 15th of October, it is our son Dexter's 10th anniversary of his death. Dexter was born on the 12th of September 2007, and the day after he was born he was diagnosed with a very rare genetic condition called Zellweger syndrome. Zellweger syndrome is a peroxisomal biogenesis disorder, which is a very long way of saying that his body couldn't break down toxins within its system, so it essentially poisoned itself. And it manifested by way of no muscle tone, he couldn't suck or swallow, and he had many, many seizures per day, along with a myriad of other problems. We were fortunate enough to take Dexter home and look after him and try and pour as much love into his life as we could in the time that we had him. His prognosis wasn't great. Children at the most severe end of the spectrum, which Dexter was at, rarely live past 6 months of age, certainly without intervention. But we were told that we couldn't really expect more than a few months. In the early hours of the 15th of October 2007, we held our son while he took his last breath. And today, this year is 10 years ago, and it genuinely feels like yesterday. And this is the thing about grief. We can pretend that there's some kind of time limit, that after a certain amount of time you should be done, but the reality is that it will come back to you at the most unexpected times, and like for us in September and October, the most expected of times. One of the reasons that I think we end up grieving in such a private way is that nobody really wants to talk about it. We got lots of wonderful support. In fact, I swear to this day that we are the lucky ones. We had family and the most incredible friends. And we also had Darien House Children's Hospice, so we had somewhere we could go, and we had other families that we could learn to understand that, you know, we weren't at fault here, we didn't do anything wrong, which is one of the most resounding things that you feel like when you lose a baby, especially that there should have been something you could do. You carry this tiny human being inside of you for 9 months, or thereabouts for some, and all of a sudden, your responsibility that you had that was so huge, you couldn't meet it. Even though that's so academically so silly to think that way, as a mother, it's the most natural way for you to think. But then we have to contend with all of the comments that come. He was just a baby. At least you didn't know what his personality was going to be like. At least you hadn't seen him smile or heard him laugh. Yeah. We were never destined to get any of those things. And nothing about it makes our grief any less painful than anybody else's. And that's the other thing, is grief isn't comparable. You know, it's not a competition, and it doesn't matter how old somebody's child is when they die. The grief is never the same for you as it is for me, as it is for that person over there. All of us will do it differently. Some of us will do it better than others. Some of us will do it worse than others. But there's no real right or wrong way to do it. And that's what we need to start understanding. You know, certainly in Western culture, we're really reticent to tell people that we're pregnant before 3 months, before the safety scan. And actually the reality is there's no real medical reason for that. The biggest reason is because we don't want to upset people if we miscarry. And given that 1 in 4, or as many as 1 in 3 pregnancies ends in miscarriage, then for some reason we're pretending this thing doesn't happen because it makes people around us feel uncomfortable. I've always talked about Dexter's death as much as I've talked about his life. We were so lucky to have him for the time that we did, and he made us far better parents and far better human beings than had we never had him in our lives. And I'll never regret a moment of his existence with us. But we have to start allowing people to grieve for babies, to grieve for miscarriage, termination, stillborns. We have to start talking about it. Stop putting it, trying to sweep it under the rug. These things don't go away, and we have generations of women who've never talked about the babies that died, the children that they didn't get to hold in their arms, the children that were whisked away because they were born sleeping and they never got a chance to say goodbye. It's a terrible thing that ever happened, and we need to keep talking about this so that it never happens again. You know, if you've never been in a situation where you've lost a child and it makes you feel uncomfortable to talk about it, I'm going to tell you what I tell people when they feel uncomfortable. Take that discomfort, times it by about 1 billion, and you'll be 0.1% close to how somebody who's lost a child feels every single day for the rest of their life. I don't care about your discomfort. I care about allowing women and men to talk about the children that they have lost, the ones that don't have names, the ones that are buried in graves that are nameless. I want people to be able to talk about their children, just like if their child was 5 or 6 when they died. Grief isn't comparable. It isn't something that we should be comparing or saying, you know, oh, well, at least he wasn't older. Does it really make a difference? From the moment you get pregnant, that child is a part of your life. You decide how much you're going to invest in that, by all means. And some people maybe don't invest as much as others, and that's okay. Not everybody's situation is exactly the same. But losing a child is never easy, and it doesn't matter what time in that process that you lost that child. We need to stop silencing women. We need to stop not allowing people to grieve in the best possible way that they can. As a parent, it's your responsibility to keep the memory of your child alive as much as it is to celebrate the life that they had. For somebody who's had a stillborn, that's going to be a really difficult kind of thing to do. But with organisations like Remember My Baby, who come in and take beautiful photographs of stillborn babies for their parents to treasure for the rest of their lives, these are the kinds of things that we need to be encouraging to happen. These are the kinds of things that need to be in every single hospital ward, that every midwife talks about. These are the kinds of things that we need to allow families to be able to do. You know, the Victorians kind of had it right with their memento mori. They took locks of hair, they took what people feel is gruesome photographs of dead children, but they allowed those children to be a part of their family. And somewhere along the line, we decided that this wasn't okay anymore. Somewhere along the line, somebody went, I'm not comfortable with this. And you know what? Sod their comfort. I don't care about anyone's comfort. I care about you being able to say, I lost my child and it hurts. It hurts every single day. So this week, especially on the 15th, which is specifically Baby Loss Awareness Day, spare a thought for the families out there who always have one seat at the table not full, who never quite know what to write on Christmas cards, and never know if they can really talk about the baby or the child that they lost. Help them understand that it's okay to talk about it, that they can memorialise and they can keep their child's memory alive any way that they want, and that you're not uncomfortable with that because you accept their grief and you accept however they choose to do their grieving. Hold your little ones just that little bit closer tonight, and hold the little ones of your friends that little bit closer. Look after each other. The world is a very strange place right now, and the best thing we can do is look after each other. Thanks for listening. Bye.